Hi, my name is Thomas Madden. I'm a fitness professional, and my business is called Satellite Fitness. And actually, we specialize in delivering exercise and nutrition guidance from a remote standpoint. So, the current situation encompassing the world kind of puts us in a little bit of a unique position in that we're used to helping people out from a remote perspective or context, I guess. And so, what I wanted to do, even though you probably definitely have no idea who I am, I just wanted to offer some insight into some kind of easy things that you can think about, implement, just to make your fitness and nutrition and everything else a little bit less of a burden relative to maybe some anxiety you're feeling about maybe a lack of routine or a complete disruption of your routine. So, I wanted to put this kind of backdrop up in terms of what the kind of general feeling is, and how exercise can serve to navigate through this. So I think collectively there's a huge anxiety around this whole situation, which that's obvious, right? And I think anxiety comes mostly from the unknown, outside of the context of a COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever pandemic. The cause of anxiety is this kind of fear of unknown. And anxiety kind of has that strange component to it where sometimes you're anxious and you don't even know why you're anxious. But sometimes you know why you're anxious, but the fear is relative to something unknown about a particular circumstance. And so in this case, I think the anxiety level people are feeling is very, very high, and it surrounds multiples of unknowns. Okay. You don't know what's going to happen with the economy, job, finances, your occupation. You don't know what's going to happen with your own personal health. You don't know about the others that you love and care about. You don't know what's going to happen there. And really, you don't know what's happening within the next second, minute, hour, day, week, month, and however long this is going to last for. So, we're engaged in these measures to help us quell the pandemic, and we do this for like a couple days, and we want to kind of pop our heads up in the morning and say, all right, where's the good news? I've been doing so good. I've socially isolated myself. I have put others before me in terms of what we're doing as a community. When can we see a return on that? And we're probably not going to see anything for a little while. So anyway, that is the backdrop. That's the big anxiety. That's what people are feeling. Not to, the least of which is your routine getting interrupted and all these other things as kind of a byproducts of it. So I would like to pair that with how Satellite Fitness approaches fitness. And one of the things that we tell all of our clients, regardless of their goal or what they come in saying that they want to accomplish, well, what you do for fitness has to have an intention, and that intention has to reflect your sort of purpose. But not only that, the demands that you want to bring about through fitness, like how often you work out, how long your workouts are, how tough they are, that all kind of has to meet where you are in your lifestyle. Just to give kind of an easy example on what I just said there, you may very well want to be able to lift 500 pounds in a deadlift or something. Well, if you have a history of back problems, if you sit all day, if you're high stressed, you don't sleep very much, and your diet is garbage, well, deadlifting 3 to 5 times a week is probably going to do more harm than good. So you may have this goal, but your function in life and your lifestyle doesn't really open up opportunities to acquire that goal. So what you do for fitness has to meet you where you're at. So as far as a program and for that specific person, deadlifting probably wouldn't be the first thing that you do. So to bring that full circle, what you do for your fitness during this time has to reflect what you're able to do, but also it goes back to this intention. So what's the intention? And what I'm telling a lot of my folks is just based upon what they're telling me, and it's the majority of what I'm telling people, the intention is to really alleviate anxiety. And alleviating this anxiety comes through fitness being one of a few things that you can control during this time, because like I said, the anxiety is around the unknowns and you cannot control unknowns. So this lack of control around what is unknown causes a tremendous amount of anxiety. So fitness being one thing that you can control and making that a known in your life is going to be very helpful. So the intent is using fitness during this time as an antidote to anxiety, albeit probably temporarily, but it is one of the healthiest things you can do just to promote feeling good, lowering sort of your heart rate in terms of this anxiety and this pent-up energy that you have. And so that's really the idea with what I'm prescribing for people relative to exercise. I still think it's important for people to approach exercise in a progressive way. That's a conversation for another time. But with all of that said, I just wanted to dig into maybe a couple of things that you can consider when you're doing these exercises or these workouts with the intent of relieving anxiety and having fitness being something you can control at this time. So with everybody that I work with, most people that I work with, I'm trying to have them do functional fitness or movements that they can kind of use their whole body as opposed to, isolating things or what have you. This is by necessity based upon a lot of people don't have equipment or they have minimal equipment. So things like squatting, lunges, certain variations of crawling, push-ups, any variation of pulling that you might be available to do, carrying a load from one distance or across a distance from point A to point B. These are what we call compound or multi-joint movements, and it's a good idea to do mostly those kinds of movements. This is going to engage your body more as a system. It's going to be functional in a variety of ways, just generally within life. And then it's likely that doing these multi-joint compound movements will get you the feel-good kind of hormones, coming out of that training session. So again, that's going to be full body stuff like squats, push-ups, lunges, get-ups, crawls, pull-ups, whatever the case might be. What I'm suggesting to a lot of people is keeping the workouts relatively short. A lot of people have kids at home. They've got to be doing schoolwork with their kid in addition to working remotely for their job. So their training session can't last, more than 30 minutes. So doing sort of interval and circuit-based training makes a lot of sense for a lot of people in that you can get a lot of work done in a fairly short amount of time. And you get a lot of bang for your buck within connecting certain exercises back to back instead of doing straight sets. I'm going to do 5 sets of A, 5 sets of B. So instead of doing that, you're going to do a set here, there, go back to that first one, and then continue on down the line. So you're going to save yourself a lot of time. And then that's also going to help you kind of keep an elevated heart rate, which you'll be thankful for afterwards when you feel good. So you want the work to be moderately to somewhat difficult or tough. You don't want it to be too easy. So find a middle ground where you're not like absolutely destroying yourself, but it's also, not a walk in the park. So make the training pretty difficult, somewhere between moderate and difficult. And so you can do that a number of ways in terms of modulating the number of repetitions you're doing, the number of sets, how much rest you're giving yourself, and those kinds of things. I would probably train, this way every other day, maybe 3 days on, 1 day off, whatever the case might be around that. Because you're not doing like a lot of heavy lifting, so your central nervous system probably is not taking as much of a beat down as if you were doing, really heavy back squats or really heavy deadlift, where this is not something you necessarily want to do back to back, right? So on the alternate days, you may consider aerobic exercise, which at a time like this really, really is key and beneficial. It helps keep moving blood around. Going outside if you're able to where you are, getting some vitamin D, I think is really helpful at this time. Just improving cardiovascular sort of health around just walking would be of a great benefit to a lot of people as long as you're safe and you're in an area where that's okay to do at the moment. So that's primarily what I have as far as very broad general guidelines with how you should approach training during this time. And again, that is to help promote a feeling of just something you will have control over throughout your day. And that leads me to a number of sort of miscellaneous lifestyle guidelines that I know have helped me, it's helped my family, and it's helped the people that I serve. And I'll just kind of spout them off without any necessarily order. So number one, I think people do well. Again, this all comes back to this central theme of what can you do to control things. Waking up at the same time every day is going to be a great idea. So even if you want to sleep in, that's fine, but just put your alarm to when you intend to wake up. So that's a really easy thing to do. And again, it's a controllable and it'll help you stick to a routine. So I also recommend that people make their bed as soon as they can once they wake up, just so that you are kind of signaling to yourself that, all right, the bed is made. I'm going to exit the bedroom and I'm going to get to work and do stuff, right? And I think it just kind of, to have this neatness and this order in that way is beneficial. The other thing is I would set yourself, a work schedule, whatever that might be. If it's a 9 to 5, this kind of thing, I would stick to that schedule, but also schedule yourself, very regimented break patterns where you can go for lunch, take a walk, do your training session, talk to a family member, whatever it is, get your mind off stuff. And then when you come back to it, you'll be better suited to actually continue working and feel good and productive. So yeah, like I said just a minute ago, having kind of a set time for your breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you have any snacks in between those, I would do that as well. When it comes to nutrition during this time, of course, this varies from person to person and where they are. As everybody knows, things are a little bit crazy at the grocery store. But I really have hope that they're going to get this under control, because it's my opinion that it's not necessarily that there's a shortage of things. It's just it's that human nature is such that we want to hunker down and we need all of our resources, so everybody's kind of taking. But I feel like they're going to organize this, hopefully, and it will be less of a challenge to actually be able to get the things you need. So when you are grocery shopping, assuming that it's something that you can do and will have access to necessities, I would make sure that people create balance with basically protein, carbohydrate, and fats. And this is a really good opportunity in a sense that you might be limited to how much you can get. It's a good opportunity to start practicing one of the, actually two of the sort of anchor habits that I have most people do at the very beginning of their work with me. One of those is focusing on eating until you are only 80% full. This is something that's been shown time and time again to prolong longevity or increase longevity, but it also is something that you can do to calibrate hormones related to hunger and satiety and the like. And this actually over time can correctly calibrate your caloric intake. Which usually for a lot of people means that they're eating less and they get a good response with their body composition. And by that, I mean fat loss or weight loss. Okay. So eating until you're 80% full with the food that you have available to you. I suggest eating as many whole foods as you can to 80% full. Whole foods being as little processing as possible from whatever that food item is on your plate, how it got there. Okay. The second habit that's related to that is just slowing down. You have an opportunity now that you're kind of at home working. You do not have to rush to finish what you're eating. And so right in alignment with working on encouraging or promoting satiety and fullness hormones and hunger hormones, you will create enough time for your brain to say to your stomach, you know what, we've had enough, that's it. A lot of times, you can eat a lot more and get a lot in before the brain recognizes, hey, we've had enough here. So those are two really important things that you can think about, that you can control them, which again comes back to that central theme. So eat until you're about 80% full. And another way to word that would be eat until you're satisfied, right? So you might look at your plate, and if you're thinking, I'm not that hungry, but I could definitely keep eating, that's probably around 80% full. And then, yes, the second one being to just extend the amount of time it takes you to eat. And a way you can do that is put the fork down between bites. That is a game changer for a lot of people. When they first put the fork down, they're like, wow, what did I used to do? Well, you used to just shovel, So those are things you can do in terms of the nutrition piece of it. And you might even achieve some better body composition as a result of that. So, just kind of respecting the meal process, what you're eating and how you're eating it, right? One other thing specific to the situation that's going on here, you may find yourself at the grocery store and you're thinking, okay, I don't know when the next time I'm going to be able to get in here is going to be. So it might be smart to get these chips, that ice cream, this, that, and the other thing. And then also just kind of a justification for taking in a lot of crap, because, hey, I don't know when I'm going to be able to eat this again. I totally get that, and I'm not saying to not get like non-perishable food. I don't want you to think I'm telling you to starve, but I would suggest limiting how much junk you bring into the house, because you're going to be in your house more probably than you have been forever, for the next who knows how long. Not going to really, I don't know how long. So the fact that you're going to be at home and you're going to have stockpiled Doritos, you're going to definitely eat the Doritos whether they're a necessity to eat or not. So my challenge to you would be, how many foods can you buy that are whole foods that keep you sustained, without digging into stuff that's kind of non-perishable, but at the same time you're kind of like fooling yourself in terms of you don't need that food to survive. So just keep it out of the house, if that applies to you. And you don't know me, of course, but my philosophy is not to fully restrict. I'm just saying don't go overboard on it, right? It's definitely a time where people are going to be consuming things based upon comfort and this kind of stuff, but just limit that, because you don't need to come out of this thing having gained X amount of weight just because, it was a whole bunch of stress eating. So when it comes to that, when you find, you're really, really stressed out and your go-to is like, eating a bunch of ice cream, which, hey, I only say this because it's something I've done. Give yourself 5 minutes to consider, am I just really stressed and anxious right now? And if I like sit down and meditate or maybe go work out, maybe 5 minutes from now, I won't want that. So that's one of the sort of systems I help people with in terms of figuring out, do they really need to eat that food? And if 5 minutes goes by and you're like, yeah, I'm hungry and that's what I want, then by all means, go ahead. But you want to be empowered with the intention, right, of that. So, I think I'll close by just kind of reiterating that what really needs to be taken care of, I think, during this time, and it's what I'm talking to all of my clients about, is your mental health. So this whole situation we're in can take a toll. Not just because you're holed up or you're in, kind of a forced isolation. It's that plus everything that's going on outside of the home. It's too many things to list, like what we have to worry about at this time. So the increased stress, I really think, is going to be a big issue for a lot of people. So using your fitness as an antidote to combat this anxiety around being so unsure, around the unknowables, using your nutrition to leverage your health. The more whole foods you eat, the better your immune system's going to be, okay? Based upon lessening inflammation from whatever kinds of foods are not beneficial. So now more than ever is just a great time to be taking care of that physical health. And so that improved physical health undoubtedly improves mental health. And that is the big thing. So I think that's all I have. Again, my name is Thomas Madden. I'm the owner of the remote coaching service called Satellite Fitness. And so, if you would like, you can join the Facebook group that I will have a link somewhere for you. I post things like this, like I did today. It's also a community. It helps with accountability and all the other stuff out there. I have been for the last couple of days, and going forward, I'll be prescribing workouts for you to see, for as long as we're all kind of stuck at home. So I wish you the best, and just stay safe, stay healthy, and be good to yourself, be good to other people, and we'll all get out of this. Okay, all right, take it easy.